to show that or express that in any way, because then you're shown as weak to your soldier or your partner, and then they don't trust you on the field, and that's the last thing a soldier wants. Soldiers have to kill women and children in various countries. They're told to be emotionless, aren't allowed to show their feelings, and it's shown to be weak if emotions are expressed. And this is a link of a real-life example of a soldier who has PTSD.
The internet.
You need internet?
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
I got a hotspot.
She got. You sure?
Yeah.
She got a hotspot. It'll pull it up. It'll access it.
It's fine.
Go ahead, try.
The other half of my topic is suicide, which is also known as invisible wounds. The number of soldiers committing suicide after returning from war is greater than the number of soldiers actually dying in combat. They come back and their mind is just stripped of everything. So they don't know what to do with themselves. Soldiers return home with unmanaged finances, and they don't have money to take care of themselves, to go back and buy an apartment, to go back and buy a home. And then they have to go back and get a job. And that's also hard for soldiers because they don't know where to start. They come back from going to war, now back to real life. And that then makes them want to commit suicide because they feel like life is not worth living anymore. They don't have a home. Sometimes they return home to a family that doesn't really care about them anymore. They don't receive them back. When they come back from war, they treat them weird, differently. And plus, some soldiers, if they do have PTSD, are more standoffish from their family. And then sometimes they go to drug abuse. They use the money, whatever money they get from the war, they get it and they use it for their drug abuse rather than going to get a home, a car, what have you. The suicide rate among the nation's active duty military personnel has spiked this year, eclipsing the number of soldiers, troops dying in battle, and on pace to set a record annual high since the start of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan more than a decade ago, the Pentagon. And this was said by the New York Times. I also had another hyperlink for a man that was, his name was Mr. Robert. He was a former medic in the war, and he witnessed people dying. He was the one where if somebody got shot in the war or a limb was severed off or something like that, he was the one that had to run out there and try to save their life in time for a helicopter to come and take him to a hospital. And he said that traumatized him, and that made him go into using heroin. And he would use that as a way to, for the moment, erase what's going on, erase that he just had to witness somebody's arms and legs being severed off, or he had to witness somebody dying in front of his face. And then he says that later on, when he did try to commit suicide, he says that he was sitting on his bed and he called his mother, he told her he loved her. But he said then all of a sudden, he said he remembered a song from his old Sunday school teacher. And it was like, Tell Jesus All About It or something like that. And he said something as simple as that, it brought him back and realized that it wasn't worth him killing himself. Now I'm going to have Mr. Daryl Coleman come up and speak. If you guys have any questions for him, please feel free to ask. He was a former military veteran.
Hello, I didn't know it'd be this many people here this evening. I was in the Marine Corps for 13 years. 6.5 active, 6.5 active reserve. And during my active reserve time, I was involved in the first Gulf War. PTSD is different for everybody. It depends on what branch of service, what you had to do, what you encountered during that episode, and then it's your mindset, it's your training, so it kind of depends. So if y'all have some questions for me, I'll try and answer.
Does everybody struggle with it?
Yeah. Yeah, because you never forget it. And, you know, you may not see death, just seeing them body bags can mess you up. You know, it depends on your mindset. And each decade is different. The training may be better, it may be worse. See, ours was more realistic, and we had more discipline. So it just depends. It depends on your leadership.
Go ahead.
Yes.
How did you handle it? Did you suffer? Well,
Yeah, I have post-traumatic stress. See, the Marine Corps don't spend money. Most of the times when you can see death before you ever go into combat, you can experience death in training. And unfortunately, there was a lot of death down at Lejeune and Camp Pendleton where I was stationed at, and even overseas prior to being involved in a war. It really depends on your support system and your mindset. You focus, you go do what you got to do, and you understand that's what you got to do. That's what you go in to do, serve and protect. And that means whatever you got to do, that's what you got to do. You train to do it, you do it to the best of your ability, then you try to come back to your family, and then when you come back, you got to put all that behind you, and then we got to move on. And it takes time. It takes a lot of time.
so does the military provide any type of? No, that's what I was
Answer her question. Being that you said that a lot of people or all of you suffer from
Anybody that's been in combat suffer from.
Do they provide treatment for them following?
They're doing better now because actually they don't really advertise for it, but because of the suicide rates are so high now on all the bases, and when they come back, there was no training set up for you to detox, for you to come back and relax and adjust. You just came back from over there, went back to the base, checked in, and went back to your routine. Well, people were sick. They were sick in their mind. So now with the suicidal rates being so high and people killing other people, they're spending more money, but it's just so many of them, it's just not enough fun. But they're trying. It's better. It's a lot better than what it was.
Did you ever struggle with trying to commit suicide, or was your background when you came home with your PTSD better to where that wasn't even a thought in your mind?
No, over there, suicide was never a thought. But in my earlier years of military, it was because of the environment I was in. But no, over there, no, I wasn't, no. I knew I was coming back. So that was my whole point, going over there, do what I need to do and come back.
Do you ever get together as groups to talk or reminisce on your experience?
I'm very close to my Marine Corps buddies, because we're a family within a family. But I relate well to other vets and other services, but to my Marine Corps buddies, it's just within. And my brother did 5 tours in Iraq.
5?
Yeah. And he's in Kuwait now, so. But, you know, he was telling me how tight we are. But it's all in who you're comfortable with. A lot of vets aren't just going to openly talk to anybody. You have to have been in that environment, experience what they experience for them to be able to relate to you. So that's why a lot of them don't say a whole lot, or they keep to themselves. I mean, I'm a friendly guy, but I'm also kind of to myself, too.
Do you have nightmares?
Not anymore, no.
Was there a specific experience that made you feel like you were scared? like something
Well,
different that we were talking.
every time, for us, every time we left camp with your weapon, your ammo, your NBC suit, your dog tags all over your body, because you just didn't know. So every time you going out, you're subject to dying. So it just, you know, you get it and you just go ahead and you keep doing it over and over till your time's up and you come back.
Do you get honorable discharge for that, or is that something where you couldn't be discharged because you just went, it was too much?
I don't know anybody personally that got dishonorably discharged. All of our guys came back. We didn't lose anybody. We had one guy get hurt, but everything was honorable. But I mean, unless they, like the one guy over there that went and threw the grenades and stuff, now that's different. Something may happen. I don't know whatever happened to him. But no, none of our guys never done anything to get in that situation.
How hard is it to be emotionless, as you said, the military kind of strips you of your emotions, and then to come back to your family who you naturally have emotions for? How hard is that? Especially in the Marine Corps, where it's like the top of all the military. Right.
So, for me, my wife said I was different. And that would be a good question for her. But when I came back, I just kind of stayed to myself, listened to a lot of music. Didn't do nothing for about 2 months. Didn't do nothing, didn't really bother with nobody or nothing. Just kind of stayed to myself and just readjusted that way. That worked for me. That may not work for everybody. But it just depends on the person. Because you have to understand your purpose and then what you encounter, and then, you know, you got to live with it. Good, bad, and different.
What was your job over there?
Our job over there was transport. We moved anything, ammo, troops, whatever needed to be moved, we moved it.
So you were on the road a lot, going through the
We was
combat
on the
areas?
road all the time. Yeah, day and night.
Did you ever see anyone get? I was just going to say. She's saying it.
Do you know someone that committed suicide due to PTSD?
Again, our guys, no, none of our guys. I don't know anybody personally that committed suicide.
Did you see anybody get, like, I know you were traveling a lot, so anybody like in front of you or anybody around got like bombed or got attacked while transporting?
We didn't get attacked, but you could feel it every time they dropped the bomb. You could feel it. You could feel it. Sometimes you could just see it. So, you know, it's sort of like the video games, except it's real.
Anybody else have any more questions?
I do. I'm curious about your brother and
Yeah.
his stamina. He's phenomenal, obviously.
He's a
To
Coleman.
go- He's a
He's a Coleman.
A Coleman, okay. Well, I can accept that. So 5 times. Does he have family? I mean, obviously he's a brother, but does he have white children?
Yeah, he's married with 3 kids, and they're in college. 2 boys in college, and my niece is a sophomore in high school.
Does his wife miss him?
If it works for
She
them,
tough.
obviously.
She tough.
Being a military life has got to be
It's
a
tough. It's
special
hard. It's hard because
Raise your kids by yourself.
you constantly gone, and she's basically got to raise the kids by herself.
And worry.
Yeah.
And worry
Yeah.
about what could be possibly happening to him
Yeah.
so far away.
Yeah, because he was with tanks, and so tanks are right in the heat of it. Yeah.
Is
Why
this
does
some
he
part of
keep
a
going?
thrill, though? Do you kind of get a thrill out of being out there? I mean, you guys
Yes.
train hard to go and do that job. So at some point, do you feel like, you know,
It's
you've
worth
done
it.
your job, you've done your duty, and you get kind of that
your adrenaline is constantly going because you got a job to do. And every time you're out there, it's different. Every day is different. You encounter something different. So it's both ways. But no, you don't. To me, I didn't really relax until I was back stateside. Till we were back in, till we landed in Maine, I think. But no, the whole time over there, you know, I think I might have slept like an hour every night, if that much.
What did you do the rest of the time? Think?
We were constantly going. Just like we come in, we have to turn around and go back out. And then you'd have chemical alerts that you had to man the whole camp and dress out and man the perimeter and all that kind of stuff. So you really just going off adrenaline.
Would you do it again? If you could take
Oh,
it
yeah.
back and go back, you would do it again?
Yeah. All of my skills are just as sharp now as day one when I went in. I'm just big, I'm just fat now. To me, I'm fat. But, yeah. Because it made me who I am.
I was going to say, so you think it's worth it? It's worth it for anybody to do it, even with all that comes with it?
Yeah, for me, yeah. I wouldn't change anything.
Anybody has any more questions? All right, well, thank you, Mr. Coleman. Yes.
Yes, awesome. Thank you.
Y'all ask questions. Take me to All right.
Mr. Coleman, where are you from?
Chicago.
My family is Coleman, and I was just making sure we weren't no kin.
No, now my original family's from Alabama.
My dad's side is from West Virginia, so you ain't no kin of mine. Just
Nope.
making sure.
You never know.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
That was,
Okay. There's two types of treatments. I mean, there's other treatments, but the two main types are counseling and medication. There's two types of counseling. There's professional counseling. It can help you understand your thoughts and discover ways to cope with your feelings. There's physical counseling that allows soldiers to deal with their PTSD in realistic situations rather than sitting in a room to speak to a therapist. I've read a lot of articles, and a lot of people recommend physical counseling simply because you're out in the real world. You're able to face a challenge with this PTSD and able to get over something that you're going to face in life, something that is going to eventually happen that may make you snap. But since you're there, since that's a type of therapy for you, it's not necessarily bad for you to snap, but then you understand what makes you snap, what doesn't make you snap. And then medication, it helps soldiers feel less worried or sad. Medications can include antidepressants and anti-anxiety. And the treatments are tailored to each soldier's individual problems so they can be focused on their personal issue. Ignore that. Yeah.
In your study, is that a route that a lot of people take? Because I know there's a stigma with counseling and taking medication, and I know personally my friends I'm not crazy, so I don't need to go see anybody. The war did this to me. So in your study, did you find that a lot of people take this route?
No, they actually don't. They do what your friend did. But I also found, well, one, they don't take the counseling because when they come back from the war, a story of a lady who came back from the war, and she was a general. She was like the highest rank you could possibly be. And she went to therapy, and she was diagnosed with PTSD. And she was diagnosed. And with soldiers, your life is not really your own. When she was diagnosed, it was told to her chief. And when her chief found out, she came back to work or whatever, and her job was stripped from her right then. Because of her having PTSD, her job was then stripped because she is seen as weak and that she cannot go out and fight. She cannot do what she needs to do because she has PTSD, and that's why a lot of them do not go because of what could possibly happen. There's always a possibility they can lose your job. There's always a possibility something could happen, go wrong, and then, like I said before, they're seen as weak to their colleagues. If I see you as weak, I'm not going to want to go on the battlefield with you because then I feel like you're not going to have my back.
And then they turn into a reckless lifestyle.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, like I have a lot of my uncles were in the military, one trained for the boot camp, one trained them to go, and they do counseling. But now it's because they are retired, they're no longer active duty, and all of them go to counseling now. My stepfather, he takes medicine because he was a Marine and came back and was just off. So he has been able to identify it and take something for it, and others have seek counseling. So I think once you're no longer active duty, they are beginning to take the routes of counseling and or medication because the only effect would be a better life.
Right. And that's why a lot of them do not say anything. Even if there really is something going on, they don't say anything while they're in combat because of their position being stripped. Alright, in just a few months, these treatments can produce positive and meaningful changes in symptoms and quality of life. They can help soldiers understand and change how they think about their trauma and change how they react to stressful memories, therefore making life with PTSD less stressful on a soldier. For the soldiers that do take a route of treatment, of therapy, they usually, majority of the time, the result is a positive one. Usually they come back, they feel better. Life is great. Life is not as stressful. Yes, they may have PTSD, but because they took the therapy, they now know how to deal with that situation. Deal with, if somebody's saying something to you, like, did you have to kill someone? They, rather than lashing out, and because they were able to go through this in therapy, this is nothing new. They know how to react. They may just say, I don't feel like answering it. I interviewed a woman, and there's I can't remember exactly what the questions are. It's 3 questions. They said, you never ask a soldier, but I really cannot remember what questions those were. But I know one of them was, did you have to kill anyone? They do not like being asked that, simply because that brings back the memories of what they had to do. All right, now it's time for Candy.
Chelsee.
Yes, ma'am.
Just real quick, because Pastor has to go.
Yes.
Pastor wanted to step in
Yes.
and just say, hey, he did serve in the military.
And can we ask him some questions?
Pastor,
Come on.
We just asked Coleman.
I've been talking since 2 o'clock today.
That mouth is dry, probably, and tired.
Get
Get some juice box. Juice box.
Okay, what question?
what branch of the military were you in, Pastor?
Army and Air Force.
In the Air Force. How do you do 2?
You just re-up.
Oh.
Re-up means you just
Enlist?
we enlist.
Okay.
So I did Air Force first, and then I did Army.
So the planes, were you active in that, or did you do
Yes.
something stationary?
Yes, I did.
Was it kind of like Red Tail?
We fight.
That old Samantha.
We fight.
Oh my God. Rick. Oh,
In fact,
I didn't even
worked
hit
on,
it.
F4C, which
He
was
sure
one of the
waited. I was
planes
like,
that
why
the
you
Air
pulling that
Force
door
had. At that time, I was with flight recovery.
Okay.
When the plane went down, you had to go get that plane and repair it if it could be repaired. A lot of times that took place in hostile area. For those, I don't know what Darryl said to you.
We were actually the same question.
Darryl really was in, I think he was in Desert Storm. I was in the Gulf War, Desert Storm. I was in Vietnam, which seemed like a eon to y'all because I doubt if any of you ever remember Vietnam. You just heard about that. But I went over in 1965. That's when it first. I know. That's when it first build up started.
Did you come out with any type of PTSD or any type of traumatic disorders?
Yeah.
I asked him a question. Chelsee had brought up that the military kind of strips you from your emotions. How hard is it for you to come from an atmosphere where it's okay to not feel emotion and it's actually encouraged to coming back to the States, coming back to your family where that's a natural thing? How hard was that for you?
Hard. It still goes on now.
Wow.
That's why it's okay when you don't speak.
You know. The other night, for instance, last night before last, I woke up and I had my own self by the hand like that.
Wow.
And usually it's my wife.
Wow.
To the point that she threatened to leave the bed.
Wow.
And claustrophobia. I might act like I enjoy being around people. I'd rather be by myself.
That's what he said.
So it's affected you in many ways. I came out with an 80% disability. It affects you so many ways. I think it's about 6 or 7 ways that PTSD can affect a person.
Now,
the greatest one is emotional.
knowing what you know now, would you do it again?
Yeah. Without a second thought.
You would encourage other people to do it?
I think that's one of the greatest decisions. If a person can't go to college, I think that's one of the greatest decisions that a person can make. In fact, I learned more in, I would say, I was in basic from September to February. So, you know, that short span of time, I learned more than I would have learned in a college because of the forceful teaching that it gives you.
The life lessons, yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you learn to deal with it? Some people do counseling or the medicine. What was your way to deal with it?
Y'all asking so personal.
Because you are the counselor.
She tread lightly.
I have medication.
Gotcha.
That kind of balances it out.
Yeah.
Because that could be really hard, having people come to you with their issues as a pastor, and you're still dealing with some of these things from your past.
Well, one thing that really helped me is to read books on behavior. That really helped me.
And you have a degree in psychology.
Yeah, I have a degree in psychology. You didn't know that.
That's good. I didn't know.
But Samantha was talking, Pastor Samantha was asking, how did you deal with when you got home? Prescription drugs.
I've been on prescription drugs since I was 23.
Wow.
And it started with a mild thing. Then it kept up and up and up.
Did you start? So you still have nightmares, obviously, if you're waking up.
Not exactly nightmares. I don't like people to get close to me, you know, unexpected. I mean, I almost knocked my daughter out right out there one day. She came up and touched me on the back. And, you know, I almost went off on a supervisor. And he said, "Dog, I didn't know you like that." But I hate for people to walk up on me unexpectedly. So,
You
when
don't
I
look
first-
well now, though.
yeah.
I mean, sometimes people will scare you, like, oh, you scared me, kind of make a joke out of it. And you don't really know that they were about to lose their life.
When I first came back home, it took alcohol, drugs,
I was like, their reckless behavior.
yeah. I don't know how my wife put up with me because I got married immediately after I got out of the military. And it was crazy. It was crazy. I had to get high to do everything.
Right.
I mean, everything. Everything. I had to get high. So, I couldn't carry on normal conversation if I was high.
Wow.
So,
That was insightful.
That's good. Any questions, anybody? You good?
Guys, you don't have any questions?
I heard everything I needed.
that's not the half.
Yeah.
That's not the half. That's not the half.
I interviewed my uncle, and he was in the military for 22 years. And he said a downfall, it can be a plus, but it can also be a minus because he never forgets anything. He says, I remember years ago, I told him, he promised me, like, if I made straight A's or something, he'd give me $100. So I said, you remember, you know, you said, he's like, I know exactly what I told you. And he said that's also an effect of the military. You never forget. I said, well, that's good. He said it could be bad because you never forget what happened while you're over there. Did you struggle from that?
Somewhat. I was not in a combat. The whole Vietnam is front line. It wasn't like you had a special place where the fighting took place. It took place all over. So if you're like in an unfortunate location, yeah. Like one night, we was over and I was coming from somewhere and I didn't have my weapon with me. All I had was a tent pole. I know that stands out today. I jumped in the foxhole with nothing but a tent pole, but it had a metal end on it. So I was going to use that. But as far as remembering, it stays with you. Like you said, he promised you $100. I always thought I had a good memory. I don't have a good memory. I have a negative. I can remember every bad thing. Good things I don't remember. Bad things I just internalize. And y'all didn't know that about you, Pastor.
No. That's.
Okay, I love you.
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, please. You want a cupcake?
Thanks, Pastor.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. First question: what is PTSD?
You need to tell them.
Definition.
You gotta wait. You gotta raise your hand to get the answer right, and you get a candy, a piece of candy. You gotta get the candy, girl.
Small definition: PTSD.
That's right.
That was right. You want okay? All right. Name 2 effects of PTSD.
Whose hand? Essence hand was up first.
Nightmares and drug abuse.
That's right too. All right. Soldiers are free to express their emotions in the military. True or false? Raise your hand. Essence.
Oh, I thought you reading me up.
Get you some candy, girl. The number of soldiers committing suicide is equal to the amount of soldiers dying in actual combat. Essence.
What?
Get you some
Y'all
candy.
cheating me.
You gotta get.
Give me a piece of that.
All right. Mr. Thomas in the video was a former medic for the military that tried committing suicide. Free. Yeah.
Get some candy, girl.
Name 2 types of counseling.
I'm getting cheated.
Professional counseling.
Ooh, don't do that. Well, yeah, don't. You guys can't do that one now. I'm sorry.
What?
It's right here.
That's all right.
Well, what are 2 most common types of treatments for PTSD? Counseling, medication. Get you some candy here because you got that answer right. All right, guys. What did you learn today? Anybody want to tell me? Yes.
I learned that the emotion, you are supposed to be emotional to the war, and that it protects you if you share your emotions.
Anybody else?
I learned that everybody suffers from it, and it doesn't have to just come from the military, which is something I really didn't know.
Anybody else? Any younger girls? Y'all learn anything? Yeah, Jay. What you learn? What you learn about that? What's up? You learned
You learned to get a lollipop.
You got a lollipop. Anybody else?
If people just raise their hands.
Yeah. Just raise your hand real quick so we can snap.
Somebody raise your hand. Just raise your hand. Raise your hand, Derek. Raise your hand, Derek.
Thank you.
Good.
Well, that is it.
No.
Thank you.